I believe there's more here tonight than there have been.
Yeah.
That ain't saying nothing.
No. I just want to look at it when it is.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this Spalding County Board of Commissioners public hearing for Tuesday, October the 1st, 2013 at 6 p.m. At this time, I will recognize those citizens who have signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, come to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, and make your comments. All speakers who are recognized will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. No speaker will be permitted to speak more than 3 minutes or more than once unless the board votes to suspend the rules. At this time, we have several individuals who have signed up to speak. If there is anyone who did not get on the list, I'll ask first for Mr. John Reichneider.
You got pretty close, actually. That's pretty rare in itself. I had more, can you answer questions for me in this situation? Or comments? My comments deal with, I looked at the budgets from 2009 compared to 2013.
We need you to state your name and address.
John Reichneider, Heron Bay, 317 Southgate Drive, Locust Grove address. Anyway, I compared 2009 to 2013. I find that you had, a budget of around 41 million back then. Now you only got 39. I'm helping your cause here in a way, because you've had to really control your money well in order to keep, as your income went down, you've had to reduce things at each. You've also had to take care of inflation in that period, so that's been a difficult situation, I assume, for you. So you're about 95% of what you were in 2009. Dealing with that, we have a particular problem for appraised values, especially in our particular area of Heron Bay and the Gables. We have 46 homes in our area. And I'll probably have to turn this over to the tax assessor so they can work on it, but here's the situation. We have like 12 homes that are the exact same size, the same model, yet their square footage run from 2,300 square feet to 3,100 square feet to the same house. So we got 4 that are not in the right way. We also have 8 or 9 homes that say they have a bonus room, but they don't. So I don't know what the tax assessors have done to get where they got their information, but they need to find a better way, because what they're getting is misinformation. And therefore, when you put those together, that can affect what you will be able to receive for income. Because those 4 houses that are undervalued by, let's say, about 600 square feet, that can add up. Plus, the valuation per square foot also runs from like $37 up to $94. That's a wide range for some of the same houses in the same area. They all should be fairly close together. Part of that is because a couple of them sold foreclosures. They've got an appraised value for what they sold for, which is like $115,000, and they're more like $200,000. And they've remodeled them and updated them, but it's not been changed. That's my comments.
Mr. Reichneider, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Many of the the comments that you made were concerns that were expressed at the last meeting. If you would please make sure that our county manager, this is Mr. Wilson, has a contact phone number for you. We have had some questions answered, but I think that at the last meeting, there were several people from Heron Bay that had some of the similar questions, and I think we need to have a group meeting so that we all can understand how this process works in terms of if it's a square footage, if you can't get in the house to look at the square footage, does it count if you have a fireplace? Does it count if you've got more than 3 or 4 bathroom
Whether
fixtures?
you have, whether you have granite or whether you have
Mhm.
tile floors or whether you.
So
Yeah.
if you could give him that information, as soon, Mr. Wilson here, as soon as we can make an arrangement for us to all meet together, then we'll do that. And we'll make it pretty quick, okay? Thank you so much, sir, for sharing. Next, resident to sign up is Mr. Dan Klein.
My name is Dan Klein. I live on Mockingbird Lane in Brooks, Georgia. Brooks is, the area we live is in Spalding County. We have a Sonoya phone number. We have a Fayette County Brooks mailing address. We receive our utilities from Butts County. We pay the taxes from Spalding County. Our road is a dirt road, very poorly maintained. It hasn't been cut in probably a couple of years. The sides, we have trees growing up on the sides of the road. Some of them are getting very big. And we have no fire hydrants, access. So we pay higher premiums for our fire insurance. So my big complaints is a lack of service or poor service. The other comment I have is that the assessment or the fair market value on our property in 2006 increased by 72% to 2016 to 2013. I do believe that's excessive, and if that is not excessive, I would like to make an investment that pays that well. That's my big complaint, and our taxes are too high for what we have, for the services we get. There is a house, 3 houses that was sold or was up for auction on the courthouse step. Nobody made an offer for it. I understand that it just had a recent contract offer for half of what it was proposed to sell on the courthouse steps, and it divided the property in half. Actually, it was 35 acres. It divided to 20 acres and 15 acres through the middle of a lake. The reason for the division was requested by the bank. They said they would not give a mortgage for anything over 20 acres in a house. And so we're affected by that also. There was also property for sold up on Lime Creek and Harmon Road at much lower value per acre than what we were assessed for. I have put in for an appeal with the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. William, could you answer this for me as well as for Mr. Klein? Is it so that when a property is a bank property, that value, or if it's in the hand of the bank, that value is not supposed to be processed with the other property values when they do the assessment because it's kind of outside of the range?
I'll find out for sure, but I think the law changed so that bank sales are part of the appraisal method now that were not before, but I'll find out from the tax assessor's office.
I also have an appraisal dated in April this year for our property, which is a lot lower than what the assessment came through from the county.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you could, it's not difficult, if you give William your contact information, and he'll get that additional information back to you. Something that we can look at right away is probably taking care of the dirt road situation and the tree cutting, don't you think? And we'll have William to look at, to talk with the Water and Sewer Authority about those fire hydrants. I didn't know that. While you were talking, I asked William to make sure that he gets someone to look at the road situation as far as getting the road put in better shape and also the tree cutting on the side. We will also ask him to get with the Water and Sewer Authority and find out what the status is of you getting.
There is a fire hydrant on Highway 16 and a fire hydrant on Sandy Lane, but none of them are, it's not a mile from the house.
Okay, well, and he will get back to you. Thank you, sir. Next, we have Reg Hill.
Good afternoon. My name is Reg Hill, and I live at 226 Begonia Court. Address is Griffin, Georgia. I've been to a couple of these while I was here Monday, to the September 23rd meeting. There are a couple of folks here. I don't think their questions were rhetorical, but maybe they were. They asked, I think most folks realize this is an exercise in futility. In other words, what they were saying was that you guys have already made up your mind to raise the tax. So why are we here, I guess? Hopefully you haven't, and hopefully you'll listen to these folks and the ones that have been here before me. We know that the 3 meetings are required by the state. So number one, that makes you a little bit suspicious. Would you guys be having this meeting if it wasn't required by the state? So we could come in and give you our opinions or express our concerns. There's a number of issues that, with the tax increases, that have come to light. One of the gentlemen that was here before brought up the fact of unpaid taxes. Like anything else, if you got people that aren't paying their fair share and other people are paying theirs, or you haven't increased my taxes because you're not collecting. There was no answer to that. The tax commissioner's not here again this evening. I noticed the school board folks are not in representation, so really they get a piece of the property tax as well. Why aren't they here? Is that not mandated by the state as well? Did they not have to show up at these meetings to listen to us complain? That's not rhetorical. Maybe you can answer that after I finish. But then there's the subject of the tax appeals that go back to 2009. Who's not doing their job? That's a dereliction of duty. I mean, I've been living here since 2008 and pretty much paying my taxes right along. With the assessments that I got and your 1 mil increase, I'm getting a double whammy. I mean, why are you giving me a higher assessment and then charging me another mil to recover money for wherever it's being spent? I don't have a clue what's going on there. I live in Sun City. It appears as though we're paying a lot of taxes out there, and we're not going to need your services. We do get some services, but you're not going to have to do anything to the streets, sidewalks, and those types of things for years yet. So you're really collecting a lot of money there, and what are you going to do with that money? That's my concern. And I'll just leave you with this. The judicious stewardship of taxpayer revenue should always be a top priority by the county commissioners, the tax commissioners, and other people that are elected to take care of our funds in these budget decisions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Just FYI, the school board is meeting tonight, and they're required to have the same types of public hearings that we're having. Our budgeting process has we've actually had meetings where the public was able to come, started in April of this year, and generally most of those are advertised in the newspaper, locally on the radio and on our website. So there, maybe we didn't use the venue that got that information to you, but there have been opportunities, and some people from the county have come during the process to share their concerns or to ask questions. So I apologize that we didn't get the message to you to let you, and others where you live to know that, and we will try to do a better job of that.
Well, there's significantly portion of the taxes that are being paid. And, I just felt it would be nice if you guys could all huddle together so that we don't have, as citizens, it's, we need it made a little more, or a little easier on us. A lot of folks are still working, and time constraints are such. And it just seems like to me that why would it not be easy for everybody to get in the room at the same time, so I don't have to go tell them the same thing I'm telling you. It seems like you're duplicating your efforts, and the tax commissioner ought to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, Delane Biddy.
Delane Biddy, 232 Begonia Court, Griffin, Georgia. And I was also here Monday a week ago for the hearing, and heard a lot of the same topics that were talked about over again. I know you get tired of hearing the same thing, but I personally think if we collect the back taxes, we'd handle our appeals properly, we'd probably have the money, we wouldn't have to be borrowing money like we're doing just to get by. And we also wouldn't be raising taxes. It's just unheard of that we don't even realize what we've got or what we will have, yet we want to increase. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'll ask Mr. Jason Lovett to come to the podium, please, and give us your name and address, sir.
Thank you. My name is Jason Lovett. I live at 102 Fox Road in Griffin, Georgia. I've been there about a decade and a half. I make my living repairing trash cans. I literally stand in a dumpster. It takes 57 hours to pay the taxes that I currently pay in property tax. What we're doing here is asking me to stand in that dumpster for 58. Now everybody in this room, and including the people on that board, all stand in their own dumpster, whether it's at a cubicle or in a field or on a factory floor. It's not the extra hour that bothers me so much. The greatest wrong what we're doing by increasing property taxes is the inflation that these property taxes cause. Now, if you listen to nothing else that I'm going to say here, I want you to hear one simple statement. In the history of the world, no business, no corporation, no company has ever paid a single penny in tax. A business treats a tax exactly the way they treat the pens, the pencils, the buildings, the machinery, or the labor that goes into the cost of goods and services that we all buy. If you increase their tax, they will increase the cost of the products that you buy. Now, most of you think that it's very simple. We're going to increase the millage rate. We get a little bit from the residents, but we're going to get this huge amount from a company like Caterpillar. And we think, well, we're okay. We're okay, because nobody here is going to buy a tractor-trailer-sized generator. But your hospital is. And Caterpillar is going to pass this property tax right on to the hospital that buys the generator. The hospital is going to pass it to the patient, and it's going to end up coming out of your pocket. Nobody escapes this economic fact. What we have is a failure to understand basic economic principles in this country. You know, I was 38 when I first read a children's economics book called Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. We assume that we can help the poor by raising taxes, and we'll put this money in a fund and they'll get it. We'll tax their landlords to increase the property tax on their landlords. Well, as soon as they open the bill, they're going to pass that on in the form of rent to the people that rent from them. The very people you are wanting to help the most will be affected the most. Every tax ends up in the cost of goods and services we buy. Companies will seek the cheapest place to produce their goods. We've all heard of Detroit. 2 years ago I thought, there's no way this can be this way. So my wife and I took our vacation to Detroit. It is worse than you can ever imagine. But you don't have to go to vacation in Detroit to find this out. You can go to High Falls and Church Road, see a dilapidated factory, and the houses around it that once were supported by that factory. That factory left because they could no longer afford to operate here, and they went elsewhere. If you don't think that's true, go buy something at Hill Street Market. I'll save you the walk, it's closed. They couldn't make it in this town because the cost of doing business here is too high. We lost 3 jobs. Those go on the roll of the people that you're trying to help now. Every county manager, every city manager's job, their dream is to make bigger and bigger government, because the bigger it is, the more powerful they are. We elect you to hold them in check, to limit the amount that they spend. The less that we spend in this community, the more inviting it is for companies to come here. The more inviting it is, the more jobs we will create. The more jobs we create, the less people you're going to have to try to help. This is economic reality. Now, I'm not here simply to complain. I don't want to stand in the dumpster any longer than I have to pay my property taxes. But I'm here to tell you that raising and raising and raising larger and larger government increases the number of people that you're going to have to help. The more people you try to help, the larger the tax has to be. And eventually these companies that are producing the jobs will simply leave. And when they do, the people left behind will need more and more services. In conclusion, I am here to help you. If you want my help, Raymond Murray knows how to find me. I will tell you how to find all of these economic books that will tell you exactly what I laid out here today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing, Mr. Lovett. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Mike Benedict to come up to the podium, please.
My name is Mike Benedict. I live at 55 Musgrove Road in Griffin, Georgia. I too am here to voice my opinion about my property taxes, the millage rate going up. Some of this is not necessarily the people I'm looking at, y'all's fault. We don't have industry here. We don't have a tax base. And I realize that the tax burden is on us. I don't like it. Now, I've lived in Griffin, long I care to admit, over 50 years. I know, talking to people, that when we had the textile industries here, some of the people that ran the textile mills, they did not want any industry in this community for fear of losing their faithful employees to higher paying jobs. So by doing that, we've kind of locked these people from coming in here. And I'm not sure that some of the problems with us getting industry here is the fact we don't have a good, I know we have a high teen pregnancy rate, we have a high poverty rate, and we have a high school dropout rate. I know a neighbor of mine's wife is a doctor. She moved to this area for one reason, to work in this hospital for 2 years to wipe her debt-free. Because I don't know if that's the reason we don't have industry, but that's a problem, guys. We don't have industry here, and all the burden is on us as taxpayers. And it goes back more than 5 or 10 years. It may go back 40 years. I know that you can't lock industry out. And by Mr. Lovely, his statement is true. If you got the millage rate so high and taxes so high, then these industries are going to say, no, we don't want to go in there. I'm asking you guys, I feel like you're double dipping. You're raising the value of my home, and now my millage rate's going to go up. I'm asking you guys, don't increase our property taxes at all. Let's figure out ways to save money. I worked in big corporations where when it got tight, you don't want to hear this, but you had to cut back, you had to draw that string up a little tighter. I've got laid off from companies that never ever had laid off, but when it got tight, they realized we got to do something to try to sustain. So I'm asking you guys, let's weigh this thing out and not just keep beating us to death with these property taxes. My property taxes went up more than, you know, I can't even admit, and I wonder, when the value of the property was so low, I didn't see my property taxes going down then. So, you know, where are we gonna recover that? I got one more little statement. This goes to our industrial park and our new airport looks like gonna get shoved down our throat. This is not the field of dreams where if you build, people will come. I don't believe it'll happen. It hasn't happened before. I just wish that y'all would consider not raising our property taxes. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Bennett, can I just ask you a question? Did you appeal your property tax assessment?
I did last year, and they lowered it. I went to do it this time, and the gentleman that was there said, well, you'll have to present your case before the board. They'll call you. I never got a call. They lowered my property tax values where I felt like it should have been. They turned right around. Last year, they had my property valued at $130,000. I couldn't get that for my home. You can't. And so they dropped it down to 118, 120, and I was comfortable with that. There's 3 houses where I live that are all built by the same builder. They're kind of the same floor plans, just different exteriors. I was the only one to appeal mine. Mine came down. This year I got my notice. I come over here to do my appeal, and the guy said, well, you'll have to present your case before the board. He never ever let me sit down and do anything. Last year I was able to do that. I don't know the gentleman's name. I'm terrible with names unless you tell me 5 or 6 times, and I talk to you on a regular basis. I couldn't remember his name.
Could you please give William your information, because that's really not how that process is supposed to work.
Yeah, I was here early one morning. As soon as they opened, I was here to do it. And he said, well, you got to fill out this, and this is what you're going to have to do. Last year, it didn't go that way. I went back, talked to the gentleman. He looked at my neighbor's property, and he said, well, what if we do in between here? I said, that'd be fine. I don't need to be the highest one on the block.
So if you just would give William, our county manager, your information, and we'll see if we can get some answers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I'll ask Ms. Joanna Johnson to please come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Joanna Johnson. I live at 131 Kelly Road in Griffin.
Hold on just a second. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. I said it's Joanna Johnson. I live at 131 Kelly Road in Griffin. Bear with me because I get a little nervous with some people. However, I would just like to say that I've lived in the same house for the past 17 years. Nothing spectacular has changed about the house, no gold layers or anything like that. But the taxes have gone from being $1,400 a year to over $2,300. I don't understand. It's such a big hike in what I have been paying and what I have to pay now. It just doesn't seem like it's quite a fair jump for it to go that far. I mean, we haven't added any type of buildings on the property. We haven't done any type of modifications. It's a dirt road that does not get maintained at all. However, it is supposed to be a county maintained road, but it might get scraped maybe once a year if someone complains, because we have such large potholes in the road that it will literally knock the alignment out of your car. There's 5 houses on the road. The other 5 are trailers. It's not like in a neighborhood. It's very rural. So it's surrounded by woods. There's the property across from me is like, I don't know, 100 acres. And the property in back of me is like 50 or 60 acres. To the other side of me is 25 acres. So I'm surrounded by woods. We're all on 5 acres apiece out there, except for the property that is used for hunting land. I just don't understand what it is about my property where it would go from 1,400 to 2,300. That just seems like a very large jumped. And I can understand that, because I'm an educator, I know where you're coming from about saying that, you know, the school board needs some money and all this, because Lord knows I don't want my 10 furlough days for real, I'm glad to have them back. But I also don't want to be on the other end feeling like I'm being punished, you know, for that, by having my property tax jump so high. So I'm just wanting to know if somebody can come out, maybe take a look at where I live, and see if that's a fair height, that's all.
I think that's fair.
Or give me gravel, you know?
That we can do. We actually, or have recently just asked for a list of all the roads in the county that are still dirt. And many of them, we have asked the residents if they, or we're in the process of asking the residents if they want the road paved. Part of what happens is that at least 90% or 80% of the residents on that road have to give us permission to get easement for the right of way because the road has to be a certain width. So if you will give William your information,
Okay.
we'll see about getting the road straight and the other information, and he will try to help make arrangements for you to get the information you
Good.
need about the history of your tax increases, and we'll
Yeah,
send
because
another
it's a
assessment.
1,600 square foot home, it's small. It's not, I want more luxury if I'm gonna pay that much.
We'll ask Miss Debbie Frost if she'll come to the podium.
My name is Debbie Frost, and I live at 724 Demon Road in Griffin. It's over in Sunnyside. The recession and loss of jobs caused by the high taxes created a drop in the government revenue. It created an economic production that dropped. If the government then raised tax rates to recoup the lost revenue, production drops again, and the revenue drops even more. Now, Spalding County residents are struggling to make ends meet as we try and get through this recession. We quite simply cannot afford to pay higher taxes. In the last 2 years, my property taxes have gone up 180%. Your property taxes dropped. Mine went shoo out through the roof. Now, we have an appraisal done on our house, and we were told that our house, we couldn't even refinance because the value of our property had dropped so much. And the tax officials, they said, well, gee, don't you just wish your house could be that much? Well, if I can't get a refinance to lower my payment on my house, why would I volunteer to pay more in taxes on a house that's not worth it? But this has just kind of been overlooked. The U.S. government was created to maximize liberty. The United States was not organized around institutionalized programs or religion or ethnicity. Americans are a people of the book, the Constitution. According to our founders, the government should play a limited role in the lives of the Americans by providing for a common defense, the rule of law, property rights, and a justice system that protects them. At this moment, property taxes are unreasonable. Up to 60% of the county's real estate is assessed way too high, and with no reason given as to how the value was ascertained. Take, for example, 2 homes in Sun City, same size, same yard, one is taxed way higher than the other. No extra amenities in either one. Their taxes should be even, but they're not. My father has 5 acres. It's bare land. There's 4 acres across the road from him. It has a home on it. Yet my father is paying as much in taxes as that property with a house. That's just plain wrong. Clearly, the raise in taxes has been a burden on the county, as the tax office now must spend additional hours with appeals. This is not something that the county can be proud of. Tax employees are changing the tax rate of the homes to garnish more money for the county. The appeals board is a joke. Good, hardworking taxpayers appeal in hopes that someone will listen. But the appeals board is trained by the county tax office, and county employees are openly intimidating the 3-panel board during the hearings. This is wrong. This needs to be investigated. It is just against the law, and it's just wrong. So how is one supposed to receive a fair appeal? The Spalding County has a responsibility to carefully account for public funds and to manage finances wisely. Sound financial policies are necessary to carry out these objectives responsibly and efficiently. That's written into your budget. And yet, in the last 2 years, the Spalding County Commissioners have spent all of the people's money, and you're broke. Now you want us to cover up for your spending. $3 million went to fund the Senior Citizen Center. And I understand that's a pretty cool thing, that's neat. But not when the majority of the senior citizens didn't want it. They don't want to have to spend their final years having to decide between paying taxes, medical, and insurance. And now the county is saddled with all that extra expense and upkeep. $6 million was approved by SPLOST for the ADMHZ, the 3850 system. Now, we needed that for our communications, our police and everything, and that was awesome. But you guys went and spent $4 million above the $6 million that was approved by SPLOST by the county. You didn't even check into it to see if you could get something a little better deal. You were told, hey, this guy, he's left his company, he's with another company, but he's got a better deal. You didn't look into it, you didn't check into it. That's not spending county money wisely. That's just, hey, you gave that guy a great commission. 3 police cars have been given away so far to my knowledge, and the county had 15. Now, if these cars are in such bad shape and have 100, 200,000 miles on them, why are we giving them away? I would think if they're that bad, the other county sheriffs wouldn't want these cars. So something's kind of hinky going on there. The cars that you had in the county, there were 15 police cars. You could have sold them. You could have made money with it. You could have used that money instead of having to borrow another $7,000 from the bank. And then you had to add and pay a percentage price on top of that. You're not budgeting very clearly.
Ms. Frost, can I ask you to wrap it up, please?
Sure, no problem. We went through your budget. We found $2 million that you could cut without having to cut into the police and the school system. There's mega waste in there. There's another $2 million that could be collected. The government causes its own revenue shortages by wanting more money than it should have, and you're a victim of your own greed. The governments must not put themselves ahead of the people they serve. We're asking you, please don't raise these taxes. We can't afford it. Those that can, they're all going to leave, and then you're going to be left with what? Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, ma'am. I will ask Ms. Norma Giles, Balloon Complaint, please come forward.
I'm Norma Giles, 302 Elizabeth Lane, Griffin, Georgia, in Miss Taylor's district. A lot of us out there in our area are retired. We can't afford tax raise. Something you people probably never even thought about when you were so gung-ho on the airport. How much property is going to be affected by that? I'm not going to be able to sell my property. Nobody's even going to buy it. I wouldn't pay you $5 for my property when I got an airplane fixed to take off right over my roof. And there's a bunch of people out there, Miss Taylor, in your district who are going to lose their homes. We can't sell them, and you're making it impossible for us to keep them. That's all I've got to say.
I don't have any other residents that are signed up to speak.
Excuse me, Ms. Taylor. I was not able to arrive by 6 because I got tied up at my office, and so I wasn't able to sign up in advance. And I respectfully request an opportunity to share a few thoughts with you.
Yes, ma'am, come forward. Give us your name and your address, okay?
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. My name is Debbie Dutton, and I live at 161 West Ellis Road in Griffin. My husband and I purchased our home in 1980. And I understand that many factors affect the value of property in any county, such as the economy, the list price for homes in the real estate market, rental property as opposed to owned property, foreclosures, vacant homes, crime rate, school performance, graduation rate, so on and so forth. For our county, the median list price in Griffin currently is $61,900. That's a 13.1% decline for the quarter and a 13.6% decline for the prior year. While Zebulon, their median list price is $147,000. 57% of all homes in Griffin are renters, and the national average is less than 34%. The crime rate is above national average, with property crime at 6% of the population being affected, while the national average is only 3.89%. And violent crime is 0.78%, with a national average of only 0.47%. In 2011, there were 5 rapes, 47 robberies, 102 assaults, 304 burglaries, 1,183 thefts, 44 auto thefts, and 9 arson. There's only 34% of cities in the U.S. with higher crime rates. There are 196 registered sex offenders living in Spalding County, and the chance of becoming a victim of a crime is 1 in 152 versus the state of Georgia of 1 in 248. In 2012, Georgia was among the top 5 foreclosure rates. We were actually ranked number 4. Griffin High is among the worst performing schools in the state of Georgia, and it's listed as a priority school. Now, to be listed as a priority school, that means that less than 60% graduate, and that they're consistently performing poorly on tests. Griffin High actually has a 37.11 dropout rate, while the state number is only 21.4. Now, let me relate this to me. As I said, my husband and I have been in the same home since 1980. And it was a wonderful place to raise our first 2 children, I'm going to tell you. It was great. But since that time, our home has been robbed. My husband's car was vandalized and broken into with property taken. Our barn was damaged and broken into and property taken. All in broad daylight. Our insurance, our current homeowner's insurance, sent us a letter this year and said, because of where you live, we can't insure your house for this value any longer. We're going to have to lower what we're insuring your house for. That's not a comfortable feeling. Now, all these problems were not created by us, the tax-paying property owners, yet you guys seem to be putting the burden back on our backs. I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you and share these thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. At that time, the comments being settled, no other people listed on the list, are there any commissioners who would like to address any of the concerns that were presented in the comments made tonight?
I feel like most of you out there do. My property has been valued too high. I walked in the tax assessor's office and they asked me would I sell it for that, which I thought was real embarrassing to even make that. I didn't go in there to do that. I went in there to appeal my taxes. I didn't go in there to ask you, do I want to sell my property? I don't know where they came up with these values on these houses. I've heard this from several folks. I mean, $30,000, $40,000 difference than it was 3 years ago, and the price of property in Spalding County went down continuously. I feel for all the, I know the county is overspending past years. We're trying to cut the budget now every year. I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did have an answer for you. The only thing I know is we're gonna have to cut our pockets a little deeper, go in there a little deeper and say, we've got to quit cut spending. Whether we have to end up laying off folks, I don't know what the answer is. That's not what I want to do, is lay off folks. Because we don't have any jobs in Spalding County, no one. But we don't need to be, the county doesn't need to be keeping everybody up too. But I do feel for it.
Commissioner Gardner? Johnson?
I second what Commissioner Miller saying. I mean, this is tough economic times, property tax, it has raised over the last couple of years. I've been here for 12 years now. Like you, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm sitting on this side of it. I've seen other things, and have witnessed other things that we're working hard to cut some of our budgets so that we don't have to keep doing this. And just know that, I feel for you, just like I'm in the same boat. I'm a business owner as well, so I understand what this means. But this is Spalding County. We've got to do something to stop it, to stop the deficit. And it's tough decisions that have to be made, and you elected us, and we have to make them.
Commissioner Ray?
I was born and raised in Griffin. Went away in the military, retired, and came back because I wanted to do something in my hometown that did for me. I deal in facts. I deal in numbers. I don't deal in emotion. I don't deal in innuendo, and I don't deal in lack of information. And most of what we've had tonight, we've had some very good facts presented, and I appreciate that. But we've had a lot of emotion, and that's generated because of the effects made. Tax increases affect each one of us up here behind these chairs. It affects our families. I have an 82-year-old mother living in Griffin, and if I vote to increase taxes, I'm increasing her taxes. The board is addressing issues that have been going on for years. So far this year, and we are currently working on a new fiscal policies and procedures manual for the county in order to limit spending, in order to put more protocols in place to protect against needless spending. But yet, many people out here are not aware of that. The reduction in cost throughout the government, through the county, through our budget review committee, and the things that they have done, and the other actions that the Spalding County government as a whole has tried to complete in order to reduce taxes. I trust our government. I trust the people within Spalding County government to do the best they can. Our employees have worked hard to save money. But ladies and gentlemen, over the last few years, we've cut into the muscle. When you sit down and look at facts of the reserve that was available in 2007 versus what was available in 2011, that's shocking. When you look at other numbers that have affected the county, you, myself, property owners, lack of businesses, yes, they're all factors. And they affect the assessment. and I could go on, but I'm not going to. Tonight, we're here to talk about whether we're going to raise property, the millage rate on properties. It is nothing personal against anyone in this room or anyone in this county. But we have been told, I have been told, do not decrease my services. I am paying the taxes I pay in order to maintain those services. If we cut people, we cut services. If we cut services, we cut people. At the same time, we make our taxpayers very unhappy because the services that one lady's getting over here, another block may be using it 4 times as much. Because this is not how it affects me, it's how it affects Spalding County as a whole. And we have to look at that total number. And that's where sometimes it gets staggering. We don't seem to be perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. I don't. And I don't think anyone on this board does. But we do strive to do a good job, and we do strive to do it at a cost that's as affordable as possible. We don't. And I'll stop there.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would. First, I'd like to apologize to those that came to the meetings last week and those that aren't here that came because I was not able to be here. I do represent District 5, and it bothered me tremendously that I was not able to be here, but I was at the hospital with my dad who had open heart surgery. I want to say about this year's budget process and what we have been through, this is probably one of the most difficult processes that I have ever been through. You're looking at human lives, people's jobs, the cost it takes people to operate their homes.
I would like to call to order this special extraordinary session meeting, special call meeting of the Spalding County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, October the 1st, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. The item on our agenda is the approval. Thank you. First item on the agenda is the consider adoption of the 2013 Spalding County tax levy. County Manager, would you address that for us?
Yes, ma'am. Got word from the Board of Education. They did meet and recommend their millage rate that is incorporated into these figures that you have. So we recommend approval of the millage rate as stated.
Okay, so the millage rate, can you give us some specifics? And
the county millage rate is 16.01. The school millage rate is 19.47, and the fire district is 4.17.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the millage rate as stated, 16.01 for Spalding County government.
We need a motion to approve the levy.
Oh, the levy?
Which incorporates all of those in one.
I stand corrected. Madam Chair, I move to approve the 2013 Spalding County tax levy as identified.
Madam Chair, I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ray and a second by Commissioner Gardner to adopt and approve the 2013 Spalding County tax levy as identified by the county manager. Is there any discussion? There being none, Mr. Ray.
I'd like to make a comment. Ladies and gentlemen, this board has worked very hard on the budget. Many of you weren't here during the budget cycle, and as Commissioner Gardner said earlier, I've worked on 10 governmental budgets. This was the hardest I have ever worked to find possible reductions, enforce those reductions, while at the same time trying to facilitate the best for our taxpayers and our employees. We have responsibilities to both. This was not an easy task, and it is not an easy task now. But sometimes we have to step up and do the hard things in order to do the right thing. It affects myself and my family, as well as it affects everyone in this room. Things that have been stated that this board is responsible for, yeah, this board is responsible. But this board did not necessarily cause the injuries to Spalding County that has been caused. Legislation, previous decisions prior to this board taking seat, economics, financials, you name it. But ladies and gentlemen, they have impacted us in Spalding County here and now. And we must address that as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would like to make one. I remember when I first ran for office, I was told, I didn't understand it then, but I definitely understand it now. Sometimes the right decision is not always the most popular. And not saying that this is the right decision, but given the situation we're in right now, I do understand that. And with everything that Raymond had said, putting everything into this and digging and cutting, you know, I don't know about you, but I want my 911 service there when I call them. We can't cut them. You know, there's certain services you just can't do. So just know that we did everything within our power to make this right. And I stand behind that.
And I'd like to follow up with that with just one little statement. When we were going through this budget process, it's not like we were trying to protect county employees. We did consider that if we had to lay off a county employee, particularly if they lived in Spalding County, that was one other person in Spalding County not working and not able to help support, you know, the operations of Spalding County. And our employees are sharing in this pain because we've taken 2 holidays away from our employee. Now, you may think, oh, well, that just means they, you know, they have those 2. They're without pay those days. And it, in effect, is I forget.
0.792%.
Impact to them. And, I mean, you know, we tried everywhere we could in looking at this budget with those items that we actually had as county commissioners physical control over to cut where we could. And, you know, Ms. Frost and I talked, and I've already talked with the county manager and some of our friends at Sun City that in this coming year's budget, I want to involve citizens in the budget process because I do feel that there may be citizens out there that may have ideas and suggestions on county services and how much those services cost. So, but anyway, we've been here a long time. So.
I just want to share with you guys one more thing. We are doing some things, and if anybody wants to ask me after the meeting, I'll be glad to share with them. But we have worked in our workshops recently, and we are trying to look at purchasing in bundles so that we make sure that we can get the best price for items that certain departments are getting. We are going to start a process where we're bidding all goods and services out so that we can get the best cost for that. And we're looking at the economies of saving on gas purchases and uses of our vehicles and purchases of our vehicle. If anyone here has an email address, if you would leave it with our acting clerk, Mr. Clark, we will try to notify you of any meeting dates, any subjects that are coming up so that you can be better informed about where we're going and what we're doing, and you can be available or set your schedule so you're available to come to those meetings or to share your concerns with your commissioner prior to them coming to the meeting. If there are no other comments, we'll call for the question. All those in favor, show of hands. 4. Those opposed, 1. 4-1, Commissioner Miller. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Ray to adjourn this extraordinary session. All those in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Meeting is adjourned.
Commissioners, Chipper, you